Hey everybody, this is Jeff coming to you with this week's edition of the Good News from Good News Gathering. It's been an exciting time here at G&G as we head into the fourth week of our 5-week lesson series entitled God on Film. During this year's God on Film, we've been tracing the vital role that the Christian worldview played in the founding of our country. So far, we've learned valuable lessons through movies like John Adams, To Kill a Mockingbird, and A Man for All Seasons. We've discovered that our faith helped create the framework for the freedoms that we enjoy today. Unfortunately, copyright issues prohibit us from live streaming our Sunday services since we're using video clips from the movies as teaching tools. So if you're unable to attend our in-person services, we upload a recording of the service by Tuesday at noon with the video clips removed. Now this past week, several people contacted us indicating that they were having difficulty accessing our Sunday services online. They're available on Facebook, YouTube, and Vimeo, and you can go to any one of these sites and search Good News Gathering. Now this past week, several people contacted us indicating that they were having trouble accessing our online services. They are available on Facebook, YouTube, and Vimeo. You can go to any one of these sites and search Good News Gathering to find them. Also, some have asked if the current increase in COVID-19 cases in Ohio will impact how we're doing our services. First, it's important for us all to be thankful for the fact that while the number of cases may be increasing with testing, the percentage of people dying from it is decreasing. Our healthcare professionals are doing a tremendous job battling the disease. Let me just say that we're monitoring the situation closely, and we will let you know immediately if any change in our services is forthcoming. Now this Sunday, we'll be looking at a film that came out late last year entitled A Hidden Life. This fascinating film asks a very intriguing question. What difference does the life and the choices of one obscure, virtually unknown person make? In the grand scheme of things, does it matter how one common, ordinary individual chooses to live his or her life? I thought about these questions this week as our country braces for another presidential debate. Two men vie for the position of the leader of the free world. It's a role teeming with power and notoriety. Their every move is front-page news. But the truth is, few of us will ever be the president of the United States. Few of us will ever hold positions of power over vast numbers of people. Few of us will become widely known, and few of us will ever have our faces gracing the cover of a magazine. But this week, I was reminded of something the Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 10:31. Paul said, "Whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God." Now note carefully what he said. He said, whatever you do. Not some things you do, or only the stuff everybody thinks is important. No. Paul says, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Has it ever occurred to you that the Bible tells us almost nothing about the life of Jesus from the time he was 12 until he began his ministry at the age of 30? Luke 2:41-52 tells the story of Jesus as a 12-year-old child being inadvertently left in the city of Jerusalem during the Passover festival. 3 days later, when his parents finally found him, he was in the temple conversing with teachers of the law. The story closes with this. It says, "Then he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them." So here he is, the Son of God. And it's obvious from his conversation with the teachers in the temple that he knows who his real father is. And yet, he goes back to his hometown with Mary and Joseph and lived under their roof, according to their rules, for nearly 2 decades. Then it says in verse 52, "And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man." So for the next 18 years, the Bible tells us nothing about his life. He lived in complete obscurity until the age of 30. As the eldest son in that culture, we assume he worked with his earthly father, Joseph, as a carpenter, a common, ordinary, blue-collar, day in and day out job. Nothing glamorous, nothing newsworthy. And yet I would submit to you that these 18 years under the radar weren't wasted years. His life wasn't on hold, waiting for the day his ministry would begin. These 18 years were critical, foundational, formative. Notice that verse 52 says this. It says, "And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature." His knowledge and understanding of God's truth grew during this time, and it says, in favor with God and man. So in addition to growing physically and in wisdom, he also grew spiritually and socially. He in some way, shape, or form commanded the growing respect of those around him. It's one of the unfathomable mysteries of the incarnation that Jesus, even though he was God in the flesh, experienced the normal processes of human growth and development. At every stage of human development, he lived a perfectly righteous and sinless life. Jesus lived a perfectly righteous life from childhood through adolescence and adulthood, so that his righteousness could be imputed to us at every age. How he lived in those obscure, unrecorded years means everything to every one of us. His years in the carpentry shop matter. Now, quite often, we refer to people as being called into the ministry or called to be a missionary. That's good. But I believe it is just as appropriate to say that someone has been called to be a Marine or a mechanic, a factory worker or a farmer, a doctor or a nurse, a teacher or a lawyer. What you do and the choices you make day in and day out matter. Remember, Paul said, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Never forget that God specifically created and designed you with the unique combination of skills and abilities that you have. And God has called you to be faithful in glorifying him with your life, regardless of whether you live in the spotlight or in the shadows. Even in obscurity, like Christ, we can all grow in wisdom and in favor with God and man. And when we do, when we grow in wisdom and in favor with God and man, our lives will impact others for good, both now and for eternity. No, we may never be famous. Our sphere of influence may never reach far beyond our family, friends, and community. But the soul of each person we touch is precious and will live forever in an eternity with or without Christ. There is no greater calling, no brighter spotlight, no grander purpose on this earth than to reach one soul for Jesus Christ. So wherever you are, whatever you do, wherever you go, at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. As the Apostle Paul said, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. And when we do, friends, that will be good news for everyone around us. I love you all, and I hope to see you this Sunday. We'll get together again next week for more good news.